Welcome to the show, y'all. Welcome to the show, y'all. It's the Greg Davis Show. We gon' talk the talk, so get ready. We came to push the call, educating. So just lock that down and keep it steady. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Everything's alright. We're gonna help you get your life. It's the Greg Davis Show.
Welcome to the Greg Davis Show from the studios of Impact Network. I'm Greg Davis, and this is the day the Lord has made. You're not going to say it?
I will rejoice and be glad in it. Send now, Lord, prosperity.
But you know, we'll look at the scripture, but we do really add a little bit to it, but you know.
You want me to pull it? Because I keep
No, that's okay.
close.
Okay, tell me where it come from.
Don't worry about that. I said I keep it close.
I'll call you on it. You jackleg.
Yeah, I'm bootleg. I ain't got my papers. I ain't got my papers yet. We working on that.
Somebody come get her, please. It's the Greg Davis Show. It's going to be a great, great day. Let me talk to those of you that might be watching and you may be low self-esteem and you want to get your pretty back. We got the young lady here to talk to you about it. We're doing a series of shows that kind of just happen this way with single ladies. And,
single ladies.
Yeah, and you're part of them.
Yes, I am.
Somebody come get her.
Somebody please come get me.
So listen, don't forget to listen to us every morning, 8 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. on the Greg Davis Radio Show across this country, especially Atlantic City and Cleveland and Phoenix, Arizona, 8 to 9:30, me and Lola. And then follow us everywhere on social media. Information is on the screen, Bishop Greg Davis, and I am Lola George. Periscope especially, it is really blowing up. Hit us on Periscope. Also, don't forget to follow the YouTube channel. Go and look at all of our archive shows. It's simply the Greg Davis channel, Greg Davis Show channel. Today she is Dr. Tamarrah Tarver. She's an emerging prophetic voice in the kingdom of God. She's a mother of Christopher Small. Tamarrah is a counselor by trade and a prophet by office. I like that.
I like that.
Let me read that again because that was kind of good. Tamarrah is a counselor by trade and a prophet by office. Tamarrah possesses a doctoral degree in Christian counseling, and she also has a cookbook, and then she has the movement called Pretty Girl World, and she has becoming a social media phenomenon. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Welcome to Detroit.
Thank you. It is different.
It's different.
Pretty cold. I'm a Florida girl.
You were supposed to bring some warm weather and sunshine with you. That's what the Florida.
Well, I do in this atmosphere, right?
It's here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Talk a little bit about yourself. Who is Tamarrah?
So again, just to reiterate what you briefly spoke about, I think for me, I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, a former wife, but a woman who has evolved beyond cataclysmic situations. I am, in my opinion, the epitome of a Renaissance woman. A woman who is constantly, every day, being self-reflexive and introspective, just so that I can grow. That's who I am. And above everything else, of course, a Christian. The driving impetus of my life is my relationship with the Lord.
Was there ever a time that you didn't have that bubbly spirit that you give us on Periscope, and even now, because everybody has a story, everybody's been through some, all of us. Did it take you time to get to this place?
Absolutely, Bishop. As a matter of fact, last year I went through a divorce, and it was the most devastating time of my life. And I found myself in a place of depression. I lost everything. I lost my marriage. I came home one day and my ex-husband had the divorce papers on the coffee table. He didn't even hand me the papers. I came home, he wasn't there. And when he did come home, he said to me, "I do not love you and I do not want to be married to you." And
did you see it coming?
Absolutely. He had committed infidelity, and because I had found out, he then wanted a divorce. So, that's how it was. And 2 weeks prior to my divorce ending, I was laid off from my government job with the Supreme Court. Had a great job. And so it was as if I was going through a Job experience. I lost my home, I lost my marriage, I lost my job, my financial livelihood, and I found myself in a low state. I was down to $13.99. I will never forget that amount in my account. And I said to the Lord, I said, I've never been in this position. I've always been, self-sufficient. I've always been a woman that has had money to play with. And so I realized in that low moment, I didn't have any family where I resided, but it was in that place, and I always say this, it was in that place where I found God again. Yeah. It was in that place where I realized where my help came from. And it was definitely a process, because I remember days when I was on the couch and depression had taken such a toll on me, I couldn't get off the couch. I had dropped down to about 113 pounds, the smallest I had ever been. I couldn't hold down food, and it was just a very difficult time for me. But one day I said, enough is enough. I said enough is enough, and decided at that moment to take charge of my healing. So I started getting counseling. Yes, the counselor. Started getting counseling, of course, prayer, and that was the catalyst to my healing.
What do you do when you're a trained counselor and you need counseling yourself?
Well, every psychologist will tell you that they need a psychologist. It doesn't mean that we are omitted from the problems of life. Life happens to us all. And sometimes we are thrown curveballs that, they just kind of take us by surprise. I didn't know, I would have experienced everything that I experienced. And because I'm a proponent and an advocate for counseling, I knew, because I understand what depression is, I knew when it hit me. And I knew that it was something that wasn't just the fleeting and passing type of depression. It was really developing into what we deem as MDD, which is major depressive disorder. And so I was like, no, I definitely need to get counseling. So I got counseling from a secular perspective as well as from a spiritual perspective. And what I began to do is I began to call my mom and my grandmother every day. I'm like, look, I need support, even if you all are far away, because look, I'm going through a lot. But I'm telling you, in a couple of months, it's as if I begin to see myself coming back to the me that loves life, that is joyful and happy.
And is that how Pretty Girl World was birthed?
Absolutely. That's exactly how Pretty Girl World was birthed.
I believe that God, through our pain, which is even how a woman gives birth, I believe all of us, through our pain, we give birth to new things in our life. It is at our darkest moment that God calls us into the new thing. So how did it come forth?
That's exactly how it came forth. It came forth coming out of all of that. I took all of that pain and I just used that energy towards Pretty Girl World LLC. And even on some of the times that I preach and I minister to women, I always let them know, like, look, you can go through hell, and on the other side of that is victory. And I always tell my story, and some of the women, because they look at me and how I look now, they think everything is wonderful. And I'm like, no, I had to go through some things to get to this place. And it's just like in the natural. Before a woman gives birth, she has to experience excruciating pain. In order for me to birth out Pretty Girl World, I had to go through some excruciating things, some painful things. But I'm telling you, on the other side of that was this amazing emerging business that is helping women all over.
What's significant about the name Pretty Girl World?
What I think is significant is that it's beyond physical aesthetics. I think a lot of times when you hear the word pretty, immediately your mind takes you to what somebody looks like, their phenotypic characteristics, how they look on the external. But pretty supersedes that. It is so beyond that. It's about your character. It's about reflecting the fruit of the Spirit, the very character of Christ. I think in this generation, people tend to focus so much on external appearance, and that's great as well. But there's no need of being beautiful on the outside when your inside is messed up. And so that's why we teach be beautiful on the inside as well as the outside, but more so importantly, your character needs to be developed, if anything else, because you just don't want to have the wrapping. You want the gift to be reflective of who God is.
I know we're going to do another show with you and our other guests and Lola, if Lola makes it through. she's having
Leave
challenge.
Lola alone.
but let me say this. That sounds good. That the inside being pretty and all that. But we live in a society where men
are visual. We're
very visual. And we like what we like. So how do you overcome teaching women to feel good about themselves on the inside, when really most men They just want to know if you're pretty and you can smile and.
Well, then you don't
some
connect
eye
to those
candy.
men. That means they're shallow. That means that they only focus on superficiality. Because when you're a woman and you're confident in your being, which is why I teach about self-esteem development. Because even for myself, you know, according to European standards, I would be considered, I guess, whatever, beautiful. But guess what? I was dealing with some very ugly situations that eventually, you know, it had caused my self-esteem to deplete. So it didn't matter how I looked on the outside. Inside, I was dying and hurting. And so that's why my emphasis, and I'm so focused on working on you, because you can have the total package. You can be 36, 24, 36, have hair all down to your butt, but guess what? If you are not whole on the inside, after a while, those looks, that man is not even going to be thinking about that. That gets old, but you have to have something that is sustaining, and character will outweigh looks any day.
What do you say to a woman that has been constantly told, even though she may be beautiful outside, but a man has just kind of wore down, just kind of verbally. Every abuse is not physical.
Right.
There's some verbal abuse. What do you say to a woman that, I mean, she's watching right now, and just literally on the inside, she is just torn up. She has to smile, but on the inside, she's really tore up.
You have to think about it from this perspective. For every negative word that you have allowed into your ear gate, you have to dismantle it with at least 7 powerful words of life.
Say it again.
For one negative word, you have to cancel that negative word out with 7 positive or life-giving words. And so if you've always been told that you are ugly, you have to continuously say to yourself, I'm beautiful, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. You have to counterattack that negative verbiage that has been in your ear gate with something that is positive. And I think too, in order to rebuild yourself, especially in the area of self-esteem, you have to have a positive support system. You don't need to be around people that are constantly telling you you're not good enough or you're ugly. You want people that will help to esteem you, people who will believe in you. And not only that, but in order to increase your self-esteem as well, you got to do what I say in my 40 days to wholeness. You have to do the work. And so if that takes for you to gravitate to people who are going and elevating in the same area, people who are feeling confident about themselves, that's something you want to do. You want to get in the Word. You want to ask God, God, lead and guide me. Show me what I need to do. Show me the parts of me that need to be healed. And God, show me how to get that healing. So that's the beginning stages.
When we come back, I want to talk about Pretty Girl World, the movement, with some of the things that you're doing.
Okay.
I also want to talk about, I want you to give some steps that after you've lost everything, how do you get it back again?
Okay.
And we're going to send everybody to your website. I think this is a great story of victory and triumphant. When we come back, we're going to talk more to Dr. Tamarrah. Meanwhile, I want you to go visit her site, and the site is?
www.prettygirlworld.co.
For all the pretty girls out there. We'll be right back. Hey, I'm Greg Davis, and over 3 years ago, I started posting tweets and posts on When the Right One Comes. Well, I tried to stop, but they wouldn't let me stop. So everybody's been asking me to write a book, When the Right One Comes. So I've taken all of my collections of When the Right One Comes, and I'm putting them in one book. You can pre-order the book right now by going to gregdavisshow@gmail.com. That's gregdavisshow@gmail.com. Order now, When the Right One Comes.
How I Did It. Pick up this life-changing book today by Bishop Greg Davis.
Bishop Davis shares his amazing story of dramatic weight loss,
Overcoming Diabetes,
and his new journey to healthy living without surgery, dieting, or medication.
How I Did It. An incredible weight loss story captured in less than 50 pages.
It tells the bishop's testimony of his lifestyle change after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in April 2010.
In less than 8 months, he lost over 80 pounds and was completely healed of diabetes.
To date, he has lost over 110 pounds and feels phenomenal.
How I Did It by Bishop Davis.
A personal testimony requested by people all over the country.
He did it, and so can you. Order your copy now
On Amazon.com.
or send a seed of $25, which includes shipping and handling too.
Greg Davis Ministry, P.O. Box 44072, Detroit, Michigan 48244.
That's Greg Davis Ministry, P.O. Box 44072, Detroit, Michigan 48244.
Welcome back to the Greg Davis Show. Don't forget to follow us, Bishop Greg Davis, on all social media, especially on Periscope. Join the conversation every day, all day long. And then certainly listen to us in the morning, the Greg Davis Show, every morning, 8 a.m. until 9:30. Phoenix, Arizona, Atlantic City, Cleveland Heights, Ohio. You can listen right there on your radios. Everybody else, you can simply go to my app, download it, Greg Davis, and you can listen to the Greg Davis Show with me and Lola. And don't forget to go to YouTube and follow the YouTube channel. You can look at all the shows over again, the archive shows. Everybody's asking, how can I look at the shows over again? Greg Davis Show on the YouTube channel. We're talking to Dr. Tamarrah Tarver. She is known as her handle on the Periscope and all other social media, Pretty Girl World. Talk about that. You've embraced, and we were talking in another show to Pastor, but you've embraced social media. You've allowed people into your private space. We saw you during the holiday with your family. You cooked for us. You let us into your ministry aspects, your different things that you're doing. Why so much exposure to you?
Well, from a business perspective, Pretty Girl World is a business that focuses on the 7 key components, which include the mind, the body, the spirit, physical aesthetics, finances, relationships, sexuality. And so I like to focus on all of the various aspects of what a pretty girl is. And so I believe that, for me, in the area that I walk in, I don't want people looking at me like, I'm just so perfect or, far removed, because I know even from a ministerial stance, a lot of times, they see the person preaching, but they really don't know who they are. And I wanted my followers to know, this is me. You see all of me. You see the times when I get a little frustrated. You see the times, when I'm cooking in my home. You see the times when I'm happy. You see the times when I'm ministering. So I want them to understand balance. Because sometimes I feel like, from a Christian perspective, there's not balance. People tend to just focus on the spiritual component, but I want them to see the real me.
Now, I'm going to hit you now.
That's right. That's okay.
I'm going to hit you. When I hear all of this, all the aspects that you've given me, what's missing, though?
I believe it covers all of the...
No, what's missing with you, though? Is there anything that's missing? Because people look at us all and pretty much say we have together. I could talk about the things that's missing, but is there anything that you would say out of all that's missing?
Well, I would say that everybody is a work in progress. I'm constantly evolving, but I would definitely say the only thing that I would consider myself as missing is that right now I am not married, but that doesn't make me feel incomplete.
That's where I was going to.
But that's the only thing that I would, because I'm in a place now where I feel like I'm in a very good space, I don't feel like there are any major voids. It's just, I'm still a woman, so there is that part of me that would like to connect, in a marital covenant, but it doesn't necessarily mean I have a void. It's more so like.
And I wasn't speaking in the void point. I'm just saying, is that a component that you desire? Everybody wishes to have somebody to share with and all that. I think sometimes we don't talk about that aspect. I'm not a eunuch.
So, absolutely. It is definitely a desire, but until the appointed time, I have a healthy relationship with myself, and I think that in order to get in a relationship or in a marriage with someone else, you definitely have to have a healthy relationship with self, and that's why I believe now that I'm in a complete place in my own life with myself, I believe now I'm in a position to eventually connect to someone romantically.
Yeah, man, she smiled on that one.
Come through, Jesus. Come on through.
All right. So let me ask you this: you're doing a tour.
Yes.
What does the tour consist of?
The Pretty Girl Tour is a 7-city tour. We've kicked it off. We've already been in Atlanta, Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and we have 4 more cities. And there are other cities that are now inquiring, for us to come. And again, we're focusing on those 7 key components that I mentioned previously. And I have various keynote speakers who are absolutely dynamic that are speaking on, we have a woman that speaks on finances. We have another fitness instructor. I talk about the mental component. I preach each time we go to different cities, and I'm telling you, the feedback that we have gotten from the women of all ages has been, just bananas. And it is so amazing to see how the women respond to my story, and how some of them, they will inbox me on Facebook. They're like, I went through X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, wow. And so when they hear my story of how, my father committed suicide, how I went through rape, how I went through divorce, and I was able to bounce back from all of those trying situations, I'm like, listen, if I can do it, you can too. And when they inbox me and they're saying, like, your life story really helped me to get through, it lets me know that nothing that I've gone through was in vain.
What is, out of all those things you just said, what was probably the most challenging to you out of all of those? When you look back and you say the divorce, the rape, that's, some people couldn't get through one of those things.
Right.
Some people have literally lost their mind and committed suicide themselves over some of those things that you mentioned.
While I feel that each of those instances or each of those situations were, just painful, I would say the divorce, because it didn't just affect me, it affected our family and our son. And so I think that it just took me for a loop, because I'm so for covenant, and I fought with everything in me. And so I think with that, there were feelings of inferiority that were tied to that. And like I said, subsequent to going through the divorce, there was depression, and I was in a very low place. So I would say that was a type of pain that, the amount of tears that I cried because of that, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So I would say that was the most, I think, devastating.
I always say when we talk about divorce, it's like a death occurs.
It felt like a death.
Yeah, it does.
Really felt like a death. And sometimes when you experience divorce, it kind of makes you a bit apprehensive about getting married again. It does, because you remember the pain that was associated with it.
I just did a piece on social media about walls and guards, and I believe all of us, and I think that's the reason why so many people are single, because they have walls that we have to march around, men and guards.
Jericho.
Yeah, and walls and guards, and I think in most of us that's the case. Do you still have those walls? How does a guy get into those walls if you have them?
It's very difficult. It is very difficult. I think for me, I do put people through a series of tests, but that's just me in general. I allow people to prove themselves to me in every season. I think, initially everybody is goo-goo-eyed initially, but if you allow people to show you who they are over time, if they're really meant to be there, they will weather the test of time. Otherwise, if they have ulterior motives, they will drizzle away. And so for me, it's just like, okay, let's see what their motives are. If the only thing that they, want is sex, I'm not with it. And so once they show me that that's their motives, goodbye, bye, Craig. So I just give it time, and eventually time will tell. And then, people's actions will speak louder than words as well. If they are concerned about my well-being and they're showing it through their actions, then that's one way to tear down some of the barriers that I have up. Yeah, but I haven't really had anybody right now to be able to.
So you admit.
Yeah, there are a few up. Absolutely. You have to be boundaries. Absolutely.
Did you have him up before the marriage? Did he have to go through that? Or
No, I didn't have.
So this is where I'm getting at. Yes. So this is because
a protective factor.
Because of
the divorce. Absolutely. I would say.
So the next man has to pay for what he did.
I wouldn't say pay for what he did.
Hey y'all stay tuned, because we're gonna have a panel. So this is getting ready to get better. No, yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say pay for what he did, but I have to safeguard who I am as well. And so, with boundaries, what they do is they establish, okay, who should I allow in and who should I not? Because you can't just be open to the world. When you allow yourself to be open to the world, that's how you get hurt. It's just like a weeding out process. I couldn't have obtained my PhD had I not gone through getting my bachelor's and my master's degree. So there are levels to this.
Yeah, but
issue.
I think about my grandparents who was married almost 60-some years, over 60 years. And, my grandfather married my grandmother. She was pregnant by another man. She was 15 years old. And I look at that. And I look at my great aunts and all that. they met a man said, we get married. Okay, what's different in your estimation in this time that we have to have the walls up? It's just a whole nother thing. What's different?
I just believe that people are just afraid of being hurt. And I think that this is also a generation that feels like they don't have to be married. This is, it's sad to say, but there are a lot of people that feel like I don't have to be accountable to anybody. I can get the milk for free. I can do whatever I want to do with whomever, however, with no accountability. Now, I would say even for my grandparents, they've been married over 35 years. My parents have been married now like 28 plus years. And so for them, they've learned how to weather out the storm. But it seems like this generation, if they find someone that's more physically appealing, or if this person makes them upset, they walk out. Whereas the older generation seems to have just fought through it.
Would you say because there's more Kardashians, there's more reality TV to look at, there's more Empire, there's more scan? I mean, you only had 2, 4, and 7 back in those days. We only went by, the evening news, and TV went off. Now we have so many, we can look into people's lifestyle just like that. Social media, it's all over.
Well, while I do think that sometimes media does have, some form of, swaying of, the mind, I don't believe that that's the sole reason that people aren't getting married or remaining in marriages. I think that it's just a combination of just being wild or just unbridled.
So for those that don't want to be wild and want to be tamed, Pretty Girl World. Tell us who should be a part of the movement, because it's a movement that you create.
All women of every race, socioeconomic status, age group, all women, even women that aren't Christian. I want to be able to empower and impact all women. I don't just want to limit this to Christian women, but I want every woman to feel good about herself.
Now you have 2 books.
Yes.
And they are?
Well, I have a couple of projects. I have Pretty Girls Cook, which is a cookbook that I released about 2 years ago. And then I have Pretty Girls Pray that has just been completed and will be released in about a week or 2.
Pretty Girls Cook?
Yes.
Okay, talk about that just shortly.
It's a cookbook mostly with Southern dishes.
Okay.
I come on WCTV, my local station in my town.
Y'all got to follow on Periscope. She be cooking all. I can't eat none of it, but she could.
I have an old soul, self-taught cook. But in the book, they're mostly Southern dishes, but I also have, desserts, side dishes, things like that. But I have an upcoming deluxe cookbook I'm working on because people were like, why don't you have any healthier options? Because I really don't, not in this one. So in the next one, absolutely will. And
I can read that one.
And then Pretty Girls Pray is the new, it will be released shortly, and it's about, it's more of a prayer guide. What is prayer? How to be effective in prayer. We know that the Bible says that Elijah was a man with like passions like you and I, but when he prayed, the heavens responded. And so I want us to get to a place as women where when we pray, we get heaven to respond.
Tell us where everybody can sign up for Pretty Girl World.
If they
the
like
tour, to be a part of it, to get more information, for you to counsel them, all the things that you do.
Absolutely. You can go to my website directly, www.prettygirlworld.co. You can follow me on social media. I'm on Instagram as Pretty Girl World. I'm on Facebook as Dr. Tamarrah Tarver. I'm on Periscope as Pretty Girl World.
All right, there you have it. And by all means, find out more about the 7 points that she gives you, because I think they are awesome. And everything that she's doing. And of course, she's a phenomenal. Go to Periscope, follow on Periscope. And those of you women that's looking for a husband and things, you got to know how to cook. They want you to cook in there. She can cook, y'all. She can burn. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Bishop.
For sharing on The Greg Davis Show. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for sharing. Lola be back with us. Y'all pray for Lola. She's under the weather a little bit. And make sure that you listen to us in the morning on The Greg Davis Show. Again, don't forget to follow us on YouTube and on all social media, Bishop Greg Davis, and I am Lola George. I'm Bishop Greg Davis. Until next time, keep it locked right here for much more on The Greg Davis Show. We'll see you next time.